Hello, welcome to Michelle Sews Again. I'm Michelle. Today I am going to share with you my take on doing a sew the look of a very popular caftan that is being advertised all over Facebook and Instagram. If you are interested in how to make a version of your own, then please stay tuned. Okay, so I've been seeing these ads for this Ornella caftan all over my Facebook feed. I believe it's also been on Instagram. They look absolutely gorgeous. The prints are fantastic, and I was about to go on a cruise, so I'm like, you know what? I need a caftan, and I don't have time to find a pattern that I like, to find a fabric that I like. I'm gonna buy it. When I went on the Ornella website, it was only $39. This is a 60-40 cotton linen blend. It might be linen cotton. I forget what is 60 and what's 40, but it feels fantastic. The prints are all absolutely gorgeous. You can't beat the price, and it's very well made. So I was very happy with my purchase. I bought this for my cruise. I wore it on one of the Dress to Impress nights with some cute sandals and nice jewelry. And I feel like this can be dressed up. It can be used as a cover up for, the beach or the pool. However you want to wear it, wear it. It is so comfortable. I'm totally feeling Mrs. Roper vibes. If you don't know who Mrs. Roper is, then you're probably very young. But yeah, this is Mrs. Roper. Do you know that there are Mrs. Roper festivals around the country? I know of at least two in very separate parts of the country. One is in Lafayette, Louisiana, that a friend of mine posts about on Facebook, and another one is in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, that a friend of mine just told me about. So Mrs. Roper is a big deal. Anyway, so I decided when I got home, as much as I loved wearing this and looking at the construction of it, I was like, I can totally make one of those. It's literally just two rectangles sewn together at the shoulder. It's got a V-neck, and the way that it's sewn up on the side could not be easier. So basically what they did was they hemmed this side, they hemmed all four side raw edges. And then the seam is actually just an 18-inch stitch line, 2 inches in from the side of the hemmed edge down 18 inches. So it's like 12.5 or 13.5 inches from the top to create the armhole, and then 18 inches or so from the bottom to create the side slit. And that's it. So I decided to make a version of my own. I am going to walk you through my whole process. I'm not going to have you sit with me at the sewing machine because I assume you know how to sew. So I'm just going to walk you through how I measured it and then the steps that I took. And then I'll show you my final version at the end. And I'll meet you back here. Okay, so the first thing that I did was I folded the caftan in half. So down along the side seams, you can see here, this is the side seam going all the way down here. This is the fold over here. I'm not going to make a pattern. I'm not going to trace it with my tracing paper or anything. I'm literally just going to take the measurements because it's two rectangles sewn together with a V-neck. It couldn't be more simple. So let me get my tape measure and let's measure it. Now, clearly my table is a little short, so I can't get the last couple of inches on my table. That's okay. We can measure over the side. Okay, in total length, now this is sewn, so it's got a baby hem, and it's got a serged seam up here. So what would that be, like 1/4 of an inch to 3/8 of an inch, somewhere in that neighborhood? So just, I have to keep that in mind. So my total length was just shy of 51 inches. Hemmed and with the seam, this dress, which I've already shown you, I love the length of it for me. So I was quite pleasantly surprised with that because I expected it to be really long, given that I'm only 5 foot and half an inch. I usually say 5'1", but the reality is I'm a little bit less than 5'1". So the fit of this was perfect for me. So 51 inches lengthwise. I need to layer in some measurement for the hem and for the seam. Okay, so I've got it folded in half, so I'm just going to measure from the fold to the side seam, and that's 18 inches, which means it's 36 inches across. So I can use, you know, lots of different fabrics. If I only need 18 inches on the fold, then I've got a wide open selection of fabrications. I was a little worried that I would need something bigger than a normal, an average width, but I'm good. All right, so that's 18 inches. Okay, so now there's a stitch line here. It leaves it open from here, from this point to the hem, so that you have a slit. And then it's stitched up until here so that you have an armhole. And then the seam is just left open. So you're literally just sewing a little bit of a seam. So let's measure from the bottom. So it's 21 inches from the hemmed bottom to the bottom of the seam. And it's 12.5 inches from the top shoulder seam to the top of the side seam, and that leaves your armhole open. So 12.5 inches opening for the armhole. Okay, and I just need 2 more measurements for the neckline. So from the hemmed side seam to the point where the neck opening is 13.5 inches. And then the center fold to that neckline opening is 4.5 inches. And what I'm gonna do after I cut my fabric is I'm gonna measure from here to here, and then from here down to the V. And for the back neckline, I'll probably just use maybe my French curve and just do a slight scoop. I'm not gonna measure that. But those are the measurements. Let's see how this comes out. Okay, so I did some ciphering, and for the total dress, I need 1.5 yards for each side. So total of 3 yards. Really it came out to just a little bit below 1.5 yards, but I'm a rounder. So I rounded up to 1.5 yards. So I went ahead and took my fabric. I have 3 yards of this gorgeous crinkle rayon that I got from Style Maker Fabrics, I believe last year. I'm pretty sure I got it with my birthday discount in July. And so I had exactly 3 yards of this, so I cut it in half so that I could just work on one side at a time. So the first thing that I need to do is, the length is already cut correctly, so now I just need to cut the width, which if you recall was 18 inches, but I need to add in 1/4 inch on each side for the hem. So it looks like they just finished the edge and then turned it under once and hemmed it. So I'm gonna say it's like 1/4 inch hem all the way around the entire thing other than the neckline. So I'm gonna do 18.5 inches here for the width. You can see that my cutting was even. Woo! I'm a little shocked, I have to say, but pleasantly surprised. Okay, so now this is the front of the dress. So now I want to cut out the V-neck. So the measurements that I have is that it is 13.5 inches from the side seam. Now that's after the side seam is hemmed and the neckline is hemmed. So I need to add 1/4 inch for each side. So that would be a full 1/2 inch. So I'm gonna say that it is 14 inches. That's the start of the V. So I'm gonna mark that here. And then the bottom of the V, is 8 inches from the center front. But again, that's hemmed. The side seam is hemmed, or the neckline is hemmed. The V is hemmed. So actually I need add 1/4 inch for that, but then come back up. So I think it's just the 8 inches. All right, so now I just need to get my straight edge. We'll see if this comes out. If it doesn't, then I'll be sharing a fail. All right, so that's where the neck opening goes. This is where the V opening goes. So I'm just going to cut that V out. Okie dokie. That was easy enough. And for the back neck opening, again, there's 13.5 inches from the side seam, but then I've got to account for 1/4 inch for each hem. So that's a 1/2 inch. So I'm going 14 inches in to measure where I should scoop out for the back neckline. And then just using a curved ruler to give me a smidge. There we go. Okie dokie. So that's literally all the cutting that you have to do. So you cut the length, the width, the neckline on the front, the neckline on the back. Now all we have to do is put it together. So I'm going to do each step and come back here and share it with you. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to finish all of the side edges and the hem edge for both the front and the back on the serger. I'll be back here in a minute. Okay, so I'm back, and all I have done so far after cutting it out is I finished the side seam and the hem edges on my serger. So that's it, all the way around, 1, 2, 3 on the front and the back. And now I'm going to join the two right sides together at the neckline, shoulder seams, whichever way you want to say it. And look at that. My seams for my back scoop and my V-neck opening line up. Yay, my measurement was right. All right, so I'm going to sew my shoulder seams together on the serger, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I have the shoulder seams put together. You can, I don't know if you can see that here. See? Goodness. And now I need to put the bias tape. So I bought this bias tape off Etsy. I don't necessarily enjoy making my own, so I usually order some off Etsy just so that I have it in my stash. I don't like the stuff you get at Joann's. It's super stiff and not comfortable, and the stuff from Etsy, and I'll put the link in the description box of where I bought it from, but it's just nice and soft and isn't going to create a stiff neckline. So I am going to put the bias tape on the neckline, and then I'll meet you back here. Okay, so I have my bias binding inside my neckline. It's on the inside, not the outside, although it could have been pretty if I'd have done that on the outside. But I didn't. And because I had the V-neck and no instructions, because I'm just kind of making this up as I go, I found instructions on a website, on a blog, in the fold, I believe is what it was. I will put a link to it in the description box. Could not have been easier. And I got such a clean V-neck finish. I love it. So yeah, I'm excited about that. And I put one of my little labels in, sewn by Michelle Sews Again. All right, so next on the agenda is I'm actually going to go, this is going to take me a while. I'm going to go and do a 1/4 inch hem around the entire outside. So down both side seams on both sides and along the hemline. So basically at this point, it's just one big, huge rectangle with the neckline in the middle. So it should be as easy as just picking a starting point, folding it over 1/4 of an inch, because I did finish all of the edges with my serger. So I'm just going to fold it over and hem it all the way around. And when I'm done with that, I'll meet you back here. Okay, so it is hemmed all the way around. So both side seams, well, not seams, both side edges, front and back, and bottom hem, front and back. That didn't take as long as I thought, because it is like one big long rectangle. I just had to go all the way around. I did press down 1/4 of an inch first, just to make it easier on myself, so I didn't have to worry about, you know, whether or not it was, even or whatever. So it's already pressed. Literally the only thing I have left to do is to sew that side seam. And if you recall on the original, all they do is there's not like a side seam in the traditional, there's not a side seam in the traditional sense. It's basically, they just put a row of stitches in between the two pieces of fabric. So there is just this much of a stitch from here to here. This leaves an opening for the arm, and this leaves an opening for a side slit at the bottom. So that's all I have left to do. It is this one anyway. This seam is 2 inches from the hemmed edge. This is where you can customize the fit for yourself. The original caftan, they make one size fits most. I can tell you that for my 52-inch hips, the original fits with some ease. So it does, you know, obviously if you're much smaller, it's going to be much flowier on you. I feel like the fit of that looks really good on me. It's not tight anywhere. It's not overly too big anywhere. The length is perfect. I love that thing so much. So I'm really excited to get this one finished. So because I measured this fabric exactly the same as that one, I'm just going to go with the 2 inches. Hopefully that works in this fabric type. If you are less of a risk taker than me, then I would suggest that you baste that line in first. I'm going to go ahead and just stitch it. And I'll meet you back here and give you a little twirl. Okay, so that's all there is to it. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think about my process? Would you have done anything differently? Do you think I could have done something easier? I feel like it was pretty straightforward and pretty easy, but would love to know if I could have done something even easier. I am in love with the fabric that I used for my version. It is from Style Maker, and it's this crinkle rayon and this really beautiful orange and pink tropical print. I used a bias tape that I bought off Etsy, and I followed a tutorial on a blog for how to attach the binding on a V-neck. As I mentioned in the process video, I will link that blog post in the description box in case you are interested, because this came out so neat and clean that I am definitely going to be using that process again, and it really was easy. So let me know your thoughts on caftans in general. I know when I was younger, I was like, a muumuu, who would wear a muumuu? And a muumuu and a caftan are basically the same thing, right? But now that I'm older, it can look really chic if it is accessorized the right way, if your hair is right. You know, you can't just look like a schlub. I mean, you can, especially if you're just wandering around your house, but Well, that's all I have to share with you today. I hope that you found that useful. I'd love to hear your comments. And that's it. This video is over. Bye.